when someone else shares something, it can bring something up in us. And that is the work of deep psychology. And
Yeah.
all of us need more experience with that. And the beauty of what you've created in this circle is the guideline of we don't fix it and we stay present with our own experience. And I can
Right.
remember a time not too long ago when I was sitting in one of your circles and I was feeling myself being triggered by
Yeah.
some things that someone was saying. And it gave me the opportunity to just sit there and go, wow, look at this. Wow, I'm having these beliefs around that. Wow, this is bringing energy up in my body.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to do about it except stay and
Yeah.
witness and allow.
What if the best chapter of your life hasn't even begun yet? What lies within you is the power to live brighter, bolder, and truer than ever before. So welcome to Vivatude, where caregiving, connections, and career come into balance, and where your vitality, vision, and voice shines through. Because the revolution isn't out there, it's already within you. Welcome to Vivatude.
Welcome back. My guest today is John David Latta, the author of Something True Circles. And we're talking about the power of sitting in a circle and sharing from the heart, something that we don't have an opportunity to do very often in everyday life, and how it can change our energy and really create a container for people to develop a greater level of emotional and spiritual wellness and awareness. So, John's book creates a template that you can use in your own community. So for those of you who are interested, whether it's you that wants to host, or maybe you know somebody who wants to host, because some people feel more inclined to hold space and other people like to participate. There's no right or wrong. But in this segment, I want to talk with John about the structure of the circle, what somebody might start with if they want to begin hosting a circle, and how they can use his amazing, it's a very elegantly simple book, Something True Circles, in order to create a difference in their community. So, John, where does somebody start? How do we use your book as a guideline to begin creating this?
Well, buy the book on Amazon. That would be a first step. And yes, I tried to be as crystal clear as possible. So I say I would begin with, are you a person that wants to say host something like this? It's actually a valuable book for anybody that just wants to learn to communicate with others at a deeper level. It goes way beyond just hosting or participating. But I would begin with, you maybe have a desire to host a circle like this. I want to connect deeply with others. I want a safe space for people to share honestly, a place where we can learn to communicate with each other in a way that maybe most of humanity just doesn't communicate. And so that type of person would be somebody, first of all, the desire to host a circle like this. Second of all, I would suggest that they probably have some experience in circle work in the past, not necessary, but helpful, and have probably done some work around what I would call shadow work or things that trigger you. You don't have to be perfect, but a little bit of work in that regard will be helpful. You are going to be hosting us or participating in a circle where people share a wide variety of things. Everything from, oh, I'm so happy my third grade granddaughter scored her first soccer goal, to, I've been contemplating suicide this week. And it's, they call it life, death, and everything in between. Anything
Mm.
can come up. People will share things that they've never shared with anybody before. Like, hey, I see and communicate with angels. I've never told anybody that. I had a lady come to a group once that was in the middle of a full-on Kundalini awakening. And one of the things that can happen during a Kundalini awakening is unbelievable obsession with sex. And she was pretty darn open about that. And there was some raised eyebrows in the circle. So you, as the host, have to be comfortable with what I would call the wide range of humanity and the wide range of sharing. That said, you don't have to be perfect. Even the best spiritual teachers, hosts, space holders, they'll get triggered once in a while. And that's the cool thing about something true. You get to participate as well. If you don't have to be perfect, you can say, well, here's what I'm going through in my life right now. And so I think it begins with the desire, number one. If the desire is there, follow the format in the book. I encourage you to use your own intuition and creativity and make it work for you. But it's a really good structure that would work for anybody that has the desire to host a circle like this.
Yeah, I love that. Gosh, there's so many things I want to riff off of with that. Number one, the notion of emotional triggers, and
Yeah,
that when someone else shares something, it can bring something up in us. And that is the work of deep psychology, and
yeah,
all of us need more experience with that. And the beauty of what you've created in this circle is the guideline of we don't fix it, and we stay present with our own experience. And I can
right.
remember a time not too long ago when I was sitting in one of your circles and I was feeling myself being triggered by
Yeah,
some things that someone was saying. And it gave me the opportunity to just sit there and go, wow, look at this. Wow, I'm having these beliefs around that. Wow, this is bringing energy up in my body.
yeah,
And there was nothing to do about it except stay and
yeah.
witness and allow. So that's, I mean, that is emotional mastery on a lot of level. Not that I mastered anything, but for people to practice being with whatever arises. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and that was really beautifully stated. And I'm glad you had that experience. I bet you pretty much everybody that's have attended these circles have had something like that once in a while, maybe even every single time. And what I think I want to encourage people to do is maybe when it comes around to your turn to say, when George and Sue and Tom spoke, I got so triggered. But keep bringing it back to, remember we talked about I statements, bring it back to me. And why was I so triggered about that? Well, it reminded me of when I don't know, my abusive boyfriend broke up with me. And I thought that was behind me, but maybe not. What we want to do in the circle is discourage people from having that trigger go outwards into blame and I'm a victim. You did this to me, which is, I mean, I hate to say it. I think a lot of even really advanced souls still fall into the victim trap all the time. And so, God, there's a beautiful story that Adyashanti, who's a spiritual teacher that I like, shared, and he was talking about truth, and truth in the way that we're talking about today, not truth as in, you son of a bitch, you did this to me and you made me angry and you made me scared. That's what people do all the time. And a couple was listening to it, and they went back to their room after the session at the hotel, and they said for the next 5 hours, all they did was tell each other the truth, but not with blame, not with finger pointing, not with victimization. And they realized they'd never spoken that way in their entire life. And they were just like awestruck about how beautiful it was. And so it's a different thing to keep coming back to. It sounds self-centered, but in my opinion, it's the exact opposite. Bringing it back to me. Why is this affecting me in this way? I'm feeling this right now. You know what I really need right now is this. Instead of, it's all your fault. You did this to me. You made me feel this way. No, they didn't make you feel that way. And so, and so literally there have been circles like that where somebody says something and that triggers somebody else. And they like, wow, I got triggered. And then somebody else got triggered by this person's trigger. And it's all around, because you can't have emotional mastery without some sense of self-awareness. And ultimately it's true. Just being able to sit in it without launching grenades at the other people is a huge leap in what I call evolutionary human communication. And
Yes,
it's not
absolutely.
easy.
It is not easy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Emotional self-regulation.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm feeling the need to share because
yeah,
so what is a trigger, right? It strikes an emotional chord
yep,
in an individual that feels uncomfortable in some way,
yep,
right? So there's some kind of resonance. It might bring up a memory of the past or something, that so in my case, in this, I recognize it's like, well, I have this belief around control and that and fairness, and that everybody should have just exactly the same amount of time to speak because it should, because it should be fair. And so when people were going on too long, I was finding myself getting upset. So really, that's about me. It wasn't my job to control the circle. It wasn't, anybody's anything. It was like, oh, wow, look at that. And then I got to uh, afterwards sit with, why did I have such a strong reaction? And it's the safety that you create, which is so awesome. So yeah, any more about that?
Yeah, I think that's a big one, is that safety and that sense of heart-centered presence actually can help people figure out why they're triggered. And if they're open enough, if they're relaxed enough, sometimes in the moment they'll know, like, oh, yeah, I remember that happened to me when I was 6 years old, or I remember when I was 24 that this happened. You're right. It's a memory. It triggers something. The memory's uncomfortable. And what I have learned after all these circles is, I think there are 8 billion people on planet. Each one is having a different experience of reality. As much as we, myself included, kind of wish we all had the same experience so we could communicate easier. Because you probably have noticed, I don't want to say I'm a control freak, but Wendy calls me the time master, and and so I like things chop, 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 and orderly. But I noticed there are other people that could they have other things that trigger them, but being on time is not one of them. If anything, being on time annoys them. So it's crazy. How do we all get along?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, this is one way to practice being together with diverse groups of people, having diverse experiences, and in a way that is, it's got a structure. So there's safety in the structure,
Yeah.
which I really appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
would. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say, that safety is a really important thing. And I remember in my early days, I had a lot, I don't know about you, Lauren, but if you go to the average spiritual circle, it tends to be 80% women and 20% men. It might even be 90% women. But in the early days, because I was connected with Mankind Project, a lot of men came to the circles, a lot of big burly men. And there were women that came and were looking around the room. I'm not going to share with these big, scary looking men I've never met in my life. But I remember a few times where some of those men talked in that sort of very grounded, real, vulnerable way. And I could see the look on the women's faces, like, the men in this circle, like they just thought it was so awesome. And so that safety is a really important thing. And when people feel safe, when the trust is there, everything opens up. If there was one grand vision for the whole world, I wish we could move more of mankind into that sense of trust and safety. I think we would all interact with each other in a very different way.
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to go into how you can find John's work, learn more about creating a circle for yourself, and see how you can, especially for those of you who have some experience in the spiritual realms or have a desire to make a contribution in your community. This is a very elegant, accessible way that you can start doing it tomorrow. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And thanks for listening to Vivatude. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivitude your next chapter, because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.